اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فأززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهم لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرهم وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أتخذ من دون الله إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون. بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم حامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما أملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير عزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل السابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتعزوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يروا الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا وإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون الفاتحة.
صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. تیرا بابا امام صادق ہے جس کے دم سے ہے جعفری سارے دین و مذہب سبق عبادت ہے. ہم کو سائے اسی کے در سے ملے. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. ہے کرامات مرتضیٰ تجھ میں سائلوں کے بھی عطا تجھ میں. رجو ہوتی نہیں کسی صورت سانس لیتی ہے وہ دعا تجھ میں. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. تم بھی حاجت روائے عالم ہو حیدریت کا عزم موقم ہو. تم دعائے جناب زہرا سے پرصدار جناب آدم ہو. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. تیرا بیٹا امام ضامن ہے جس کے قبضے میں رات ہے دن ہے. وہ خراسان کا ہے شہزادہ ہر شفا اس کے در پہ ممکن ہے. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. ہے نجف دشمنوں کے نرغے میں کربلا سامرا کے رستے میں بے کفن مومنوں کے لاشیں ہیں. کفر داخل ہوا مدینے میں. تو ساتھ و مشکل خوشا نور جناب سیدہ یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم یا موسیٰ کاظم. صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. کیسا ہے یہ چراغ دل ڈوبے جا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. ہونے لگی اذانیں کیسے سروں کو دھام پہ بازو بندھے ہوئے ہیں. خون رو رہی ہے آنکھیں آنکھوں کے خون سے رستے خون میں نہا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. سجاد کا کلیجہ صد پاش ہو رہا ہے. ایک ایک زخم ان کا اس غم میں رو رہا ہے. زینب کا نام لے کر آداب بلا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. نیزے پہ جتنے سر ہے ایک سر ہے ان میں ایسا آنکھیں ہے بندھے اس کی اور خاک پر ہے گرتا. عباس کا یہ سر ہے تیور بتا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اتنا چلے ہے پیدل کانٹوں پہ سارے قیدی تھک جاتی چلتے چلتے چلتی اگر زمین بھی پیروں کے آبلے بھی آنسو بہا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں لوگ کس طرح کے ہم سے دعا کرائے اے قیدیو دعا دو یہ دن نہ ہم پہ آئے لے کر دعائیں ہم سے دل بھی دکھا رہے ہیں کیا شام آ گیا ہے اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں ماؤں کے گودیوں سے لپٹے ہوئے ہیں بچے ہے ہاتھ رسیوں میں ماں کے ایسے جھکرے بچے جو گر رہے ہیں وہ مرتے جا رہے ہیں کیا شام آ گیا ہے اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kindly join me in reciting Surah Fatiha for all marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Our condolences to the Imam of our time on the wafat of Hazrat Abu Talib and our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. A couple of announcements before tonight's majlis. We will be observing the Eve of Mi'raj and Rosh Ba'athat this Wednesday. The program will begin at 8 p.m. inshallah. Applications are now open for males and females between the age of 19 to 24 to join the mentor team for Camp Courage 2024. To apply, kindly email campcourage@courage.org. The deadline for application is the 11th of February. Further details have been circulated via email. For tonight's majlis, we are honored to be hosting Sheikh Afzal Mirali. Sheikh Afzal is an Islamic scholar specializing in Islamic sciences and law with a keen interest in Islamic and religious history and the methodology of Tabligh. He is currently a lecturer at the Hawza Ilmiya of England and is undertaking a master's degree in Quranic sciences and tafsir. Sheikh Afzal started his Hawza studies in the UK, after which he migrated to Lebanon, studying in its Hawzas for 10 years before moving to Qum, where he studied for a further 5 years at the level of Dars al-Kharij, including carrying out significant work within Tabligh and the media. Thank you for accepting our invitation to grace our center tonight, Sheikh. Kindly join me in inviting Sheikh to the minbar with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Uncle, can I have just some water, please? So we can have some water before I start. For the love of our seventh Imam, bless our majlis with a loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المظلومين المقتلين المسمومين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين. السلام على المعذب في قعر السجون وظلم المطامير ذي الساق المردود بحلق القيود والجنازات المنادى عليها بذل الاستخفاف. ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم سادتي. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فقد ورد عن إمامنا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم سلام الله عليه أنه قال: من أحب الدنيا ذهب خوف الآخرة من قلبه، وما أوتي عبد علما فازداد للدنيا حبا إلا ازداد من الله بعدا وازداد الله عليه غضبا. To hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, enlighten our majlis with the loud salat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Respected mu'mineen, mu'minat, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I would like to start by taking this opportunity to extend my most heartfelt condolences on my own behalf and on behalf of all of you to the Imam of our time, Al-Imam Al-Hujjah, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Al-Sharif. As do I also extend these same condolences to each and every single one of you here on the sad occasion of the annual anniversary of the Shahada of our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim, salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi. Normally when commemorating the Shahadat, the Wiladat of our Imams, salawatullahi wa sallam alayhim, I tend to normally start by talking about the history of these Imams. Unfortunately, sometimes we have, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with so many personalities, so many saints, so many Imams, so many holy persons, that sometimes remembering their history is something that is very, very relevant to our times because of the fact that the mindset of the Imams, the strategies of the Imams, and many of the challenges of the Imams were such that they are still pertinent to us today. And it is really important for us to know of the circumstances that they lived in. And secondly, these help us to better understand what our responsibility is in our daily lives. Secondly, with respect to the story or the history, the chronology of events, the biographies of the Imams themselves is very important for us to know as well. One of the really interesting facts that I don't know if anybody over here is aware, maybe one or two really keen readers or researchers may know, is the fact that the very first state, which can be called a Shia state, and with that specific title per se, of course, we do not consider Shi'ism to be a madhab. We consider Shi'ism to be the mainstream Islam. This is the Islam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is our understanding. Although during the time of Imam al-Kadhim salamullahi alayhi, the first Shiite state in the general sense by Hashimis was established in al-Maghrib al-Arabi, that is to say the North African, western part of North Africa, which was known as the state of the Adarisa, al-Idrisiyin. And these are Sayyids. And interestingly enough, their progeny is still found in Morocco today, the Adarisa Sayyids. So this was there during the time of Imam al-Kadhim salamullah. It was established initially. On the other hand, there were many uprisings that were happening during the time of the Imam. Although the approach that the Imam was taking was extremely subtle, Imam al-Kadhim salamullahi alayhi, it was not that he had not taken up an approach of uprising per se, but it was subtle, it was a bit different, it was strategic more than being just tactical and at the time very overtly. To the extent that the Imam ﷺ was able to embed Shias, people who are working within the very close security network of the Imam sallallahu alayhi, you would find them in the Abbasid apparatus, to the extent that even Ali bin Yaqtin, the Grand Vizier of Harun al-Rashid, and he was even there before Harun al-Rashid. He was there even before Harun al-Rashid. He was embedded by Imam al-Kadhim sallallahu alayhi, and he was one of the, not only just a person who loved Ahlul Bayt, no, he was one of the narrators from Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi. Imagine reaching that, mashallah. So with this aspect, first of all, for us to recall, taking from the time of the Hijrah, from the early Hijrah, if we were to look at the year that the Imam salamullah alayhi was born in, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was born on the 7th of Safar in the year 128 AH in the city or in the place, the town of Abwa, where the mother of our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidah Amin alayhi salam, where she is buried. The Imam salamullahi alayhi, he has a number of different agnomens, although the agnomen that he was known by, he had two. One was Abul Hassan, and because of the fact that there are 4 Imams who have the kunya of Abul Hassan, but in fiqh, normally the narrations of fiqh, Abul Hassan could refer to one of 3 Imams. It did not refer to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi. In akhlaqi riwayat, maybe. In certain historical riwayat, maybe. Abul Hassan was Imam Ali. But if you were to look at the fiqh riwayat, it would be starting with Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, Abul Hassan, Imam al-Rida salamullah alayhi is also known as Abul Hassan, and our 10th Imam, Imam Ali al-Hadi al-Naqi, he is also known as Abul Hassan. Now, how do we differentiate between them? Normally, when they would want to refer to Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, they would say Abul Hassan al-Awwal, the first Abul Hassan. But you would say Imam Ali is the first Abul Hassan. Well, it's actually a matter of context. The narrators of the time when they would be narrating from Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, because it was a custom, it was known to them. Today, if we say, for example, to each other, let's say HMRC, all of us know what the acronym stands for. Now, another person, maybe a few hundred years later, they may think something else, but in order for them to know what we refer to, they have to look at our time. What is understood between me and you? He also had another kunya, our Imam alayhi salam, which was Abu Ibrahim. The Imam salamullahi alayhi, his period of imama was relatively one of the longer periods of imama from all of the Imams alayhi salam. And the day of his shahada, it has been recorded to be the 25th of Rajab, according to the strongest riwayat. And this was in 183 AH. His period of Imam was 35 years, and the Imam Salamullah alayhi passed away, or he was martyred when he was 55 years old. So he became an Imam at a relatively young youth age. In his youth age, at 20, he became the Imam and bore this responsibility. Al-Qab, you can say that just like each and every one of our Imams alayhi salam, and everyone, they have a proper name. Our Imams alayhi salam also had proper titles. Proper titles, and the titles that they were known for, specific to them. When you say Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Al-Mushtaba, this is Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi. Right? Whereas if you refer to Al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi, even though this trait was present and prevalent in all of them, all of the Imams, however, with respect to Imam Musa al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi, there were so many incidents that would be seen that there were people who would do things in order to try to belittle him, to vex the Imam, but he would always be very, very forbearing and patient in his demeanor and how he would deal with such situations. His mother was Sayyidah Hamida al-Barbariya, that is to say, she was from the Amazigh, what is known as today as the Amazigh. These are from the Berber peoples from northern Africa. And subhanAllah, if you see what we were referring to, you can find that the Berbers at this point, many of them had also embraced Islam, and this presence of the Sayyids, the Adarisa over there in that part of northern Africa, it was at the same time. This is the spread of Islam, as you can see. Of course, the Imam Salamullahi alayhi, he is known to be the Imam who had the most children. According to some of our early scholars, Shaykh al-Mufid, Shaykh al-Tusi, our Imam al-Kadhim Salamullahi alayhi, they say that he had approximately 37 children. 37 children. The Imam Salamullahi alayhi, amongst his most famous children are, of course, Al-Imam al-Rida Salamullahi alayhi and Sayyidah Fatima al-Masuma Salamullahi alayha. Both of whom are actually full brother and sister. They're full siblings. The others would be half brothers and sisters, depending on the mother. The period of the imama of our Imam Salamullahi alayhi, was maybe one of the most difficult ever periods in terms of the surveillance that they were under. And this can actually also be said with respect to Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi, because the later final 2-3 years of Yazid's rule after the event of Karbala, and after Yazid was killed, well, his horse actually killed him. After Yazid was on a hunting trip, after Yazid was killed, and his cousins and his uncles from the Marwani branch, you had the Sufyani Umayyads, Muawiyah, Yazid, his son, etc. Then you had the Marwanis, Marab, Al-Hakam, and others. So those others were actually far shrewder than him. When they took over the rule, what happened is that they had to consolidate things. So they saw this household is causing us problems. So we have to keep Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi under a lot of surveillance. As a result, you find that the rhetoric of Imam al-Sajjad salamullah alayhi was extremely, the riwayat that go in such explicit detail with respect to aqaid, debates, and so forth, in terms of fiqh, in terms of, like the later Imams, it's very difficult to find that with respect to the fourth Imam. To a certain extent, not to that extent, but to a certain extent, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was also facing these problems. After the Abbasids had defeated the Umayyads to now take over the rule. So in order to consolidate power, they started by eliminating and assassinating Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayhi. It was so difficult that even Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayhi could not explicitly to the general masses say who his successor was going to be. And as a result, funnily enough, the Imam alayhi salam, in his wasiyah, the sixth Imam, he said that he actually included some women folk as being the Imam, and also Al-Mansur al-Dawaniqi himself. And also he put amongst the possibilities Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Now, a learned person can immediately discern that these others are not going to be the Imam. So it is Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi. But Imam al-Sadiq, in order to preserve the life of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, he had to take these measures. So, on top of that as well, there was also the Imam, when he was in Medina, there were 2 times that he, the Imam alayhi salam, was called by force to come to Baghdad. Possibly you could say perhaps the first of the Imams who was now being summoned by force out of Medina, you could say it was Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi. This was then repeated with Imam al-Rida salamullah alayhi. It was repeated with Imam al-Jawad, Imam Muhammad al-Taqi, Imam Ali al-Hadi al-Naqi alayhi salam, and onwards. But it started with him, this practice. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Here, it's very important for us to note that before he was actually called, during his period in Medina, there was a certain relative amount of freedom. Relative. Freedom to do what? Freedom to spread the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. To continue teaching from the school of Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayhi. But again, not with the same open freedom that the 6th Imam and 5th Imam had. As a result, through the activities that he could, the Imam was reported to have over 230 narrators who have narrated from him. And there is, according to one of the sources, approximately 3,000 narrations from him. Now, when I say 3,000 narrations, you have to understand, sometimes what is a narration? You have a group of people going to the Imam Salamullahi alayhi. They have come for what? They went for Hajj. They returned from Hajj, passed by Medina. They go for the ziyarat of the Holy Prophet. They say, okay, listen, let us stay here for 2 or 3 weeks. Every day, let's say they've come from Basra, they've come from Kufa, whatever. Let us go and visit the Al-Alim. Amongst the titles of the Imams, some of the titles, thank you so much, my dear. Some of the titles were used amongst the Ashab to be as aliases for the Imam. If you go to the narrations, some of the narrations end with the first narrator saying, and I narrated it, and I reported or narrated, or I heard Al-Alim say, the scholar. What do you mean by the scholar? Or I narrated from Al-Abdul Salih, the righteous servant. These two were titles that the Ashab, they would use. They knew that this means Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. They would use it for him. Okay? So at that, our Imam Salamullahi alayhi, there were approximately 3,000 narrations. So what they would do is that they would come to the Imam, let us go to him, let us ask our questions, or let us listen to what some of the other people gathering there are asking him. So they would go, Imam passe jaye, 3-4 kala kadhe, bese. Now, not that just playing with their phones. They go to the Imam, they have their scroll, they have their pen, everything. They have ink, and they are writing down what is being said. Ajrak ek shab miss kare, jola khaye to bija ne pusha kare, anya chi suche. Bija wakat ani narration mein ek shab miss thata hai, to ani narration is complete. So our scholars normally what they would do is that during the early time of compilation, like Sheikh al-Kulaini, each of the scrolls or some of the narrations to the Imam, they would have 3, 4, 5 roots. He would compare and take the most complete version. With that, there was approximately 3,000. Sometimes the narration is what? It's actually a collection of 2 or 3 hours. This is one narration. All right? There's a lot of knowledge there, a lot of knowledge. Now, our Imam Salamullahi alayhi, during his life, he was a contemporary of 4 of the Abbasid caliphs. Al-Mansur al-Dawaniqi was the one who actually had Imam al-Sadiq Salamullahi alayhi poisoned. Lanatullahi alayhi. Secondly, we had Al-Mahdi al-Abbasi. Now, because of the fact that they knew, excuse me, they knew the fact that Banu Hashim, the Shi'as, they believe in the awaited Savior. So they were trying to kind of say that, listen, it's actually one of us. It's actually one of us. And they were constantly trying such propaganda. It's actually us. So one of them, they actually named their son, Al-Mahdi al-Abbasi. Now, Imam alayhi salam had a lot of dealings with this person. And after it, there was his brother, Al-Hadi al-Abbasi, and finally was the one of the most ruthless one of them, Harun al-Ghawi, not al-Rashid. Al-Ghawi, yani the misguided, the deviant. Harun was the one under whose rule the Imam Salamullahi alayhi faced a lot of difficulties, and he was finally poisoned. The Imam alayhi salam lived under the rule of Harun for 13 years. For 13 years. Now, one thing to know is that when you want to, like I mentioned, in terms of principle, okay, you want to know how the Imam or what the Imam's project or plan, modus operandi, what was he doing? You need to look at the circumstances. The time of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was extremely delicate. Why? Because as opposed to, or contrary to maybe the time of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, that you had deviant groups from outside the fold of the Shias popping up here and there, and the Imams debating with them. During the time of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, now there were some deviant groups popping up from within the Shias themselves. From within the Shias. Imagine how dangerous this is. As a result, the Imam had dealings and he had debates with many of these. Amongst these people, and some of them, you know, some of them actually, we have a history. We are actually, we were originally a part of one of these groups, our forefathers. Ismail was the eldest son of, excuse me, was the eldest son of Imam al-Sadiq sallallahu alayhi. Now, the custom had been that up until the time of Imam al-Sadiq sallallahu alayhi, the eldest son would be the successor of the previous Imam, the eldest son. But here, it changed. The eldest son was Ismail, but Ismail passed away during the life of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And he wasn't the Imam. Now you had a group of people that said, no, Ismail is the Imam. Because during his life, people were claiming that. He is the Imam. Why? Because he is the eldest. Now when he passed away, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam uncovered his face for people. He showed them, listen, this is my son. He is dead. He is not the Imam. But still, you had some people who are still stubborn, saying, no, he's gone to Ghaiba. He's in Ghaiba now. La ilaha illallah. Maybe he's passed away. What Ghaiba? Come on. Let's be logical. Let's use our mind. No. Ubi shiwara. Haya. طيب. Then they found a way around it. No, listen. He is dead, but his son. Okay, his son is the Imam now. Muhammad, if I'm not mistaken. Muhammad ibn Ismail. He's the Imam now. And you can't challenge us and blah, 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 la ilaha illallah. So this continued up until now, until our own ancestors, as they were being guided, they embraced Ismailism. Alhamdulillah, it was a pathway for us to become Shia Ithna Ashari and the followers of the 12th Imam. Ajla ta'ala Fajr Sharif. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam had another son as well by the name of Abdullah al-Aftah. Al-Aftah is a person who has kind of a problem in walking. And this Abdullah al-Aftah, he was very virtuous and pious and everything. Now some of these mu'aleen, some of the muhibbeen, they considered that this is the Imam. So they started following him. Now these followers of Abdullah al-Aftah, they are known as al-Fatahiyya. Right? These people, many of them were actually narrators of narrations. And we have narrators from them. Sorry, we have narrators and narrations from them. Where they are trustworthy, they were trustworthy. Where their narrations do not contradict any of our principles, we do accept their narrations. Only that we don't accept their interpretations. The narration verbatim, if it is okay, we accept it. After Abdullah al-Aftah passed away, many of them, they actually came back within the fold of Imama. And they now followed the rest of the Imams alayhi salam. So they repented. Amongst some of them, you had one very dangerous group as well, were Waqifiyya. These Waqifiyya, al-Waqifi means a person who stops at a certain Imam. These Waqifis, they actually stopped at the Imama of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Before, they were not accepting Imam al-Kadhim. These people accepted Imam al-Kadhim, but said that when he was martyred, he is the Mahdi and he's going to come back. Others were saying, Fulan is Mahdi, now saying he's the Mahdi, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. These Waqifis, basically, they were following a couple of the wukala of the Imam salamullahi alayhi in some of the eastern parts of the Islamic state at the time. These wukala of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, they actually had gathered a lot of money. For these wukala, unfortunately, the dunya, it played with their mind. And I'll come to the hadith that I just quoted. So as a result, they said, oh God, you know, these millions, a few millions, it's really difficult for us to part with them. So let's just say that Ali al-Rida is actually not an Imam. It's Imam al-Kadhim, he's gone to Ghaiba, okay, we keep the money, we use, we spend, we buy a Ferrari, etc. Khair? La ilaha illallah. So as a result, this group popped up. And now Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam has to deal with all of these people. I would like to mention a couple. Now Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi, during this period, the manner of communication of the people with the Imam, it was still open, not like the later Imams where it was very difficult to access the Imam. A lot of these people would write to the Imam a number of questions. So the Imam would respond to these questions by writing as well. And as a result, you have some of these writings that then they are considered like to be Kitab al-Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi. This is like a letter of Imam al-Kadhim. Something that basically could consider that he authored. He authored the letter. Others would be these people coming in the presence of the Imam and the Imam dictating and them writing. Another form which actually would show the i'jaz, the miracle, the miraculous nature of this household were the debates. Here I would like to quote a couple of these debates. It is important to know our Imam alayhi salam, he had debates with Christian scholars, Christian theologians and priests. He had the same with Jewish rabbis. He had also with the Abbasids. He had such debates also with scholars of different madhahib, even the fiqhi madhahib, including Abu Hanifa himself. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, Harun al-Rashid al-Ghawi, sorry, he ordered Abu Yusuf al-Qadi. Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, you see, these later caliphs, after the initial first three who had taken the Khilafah that belonged to Amir al-Mu'minin sallallahu alayhi, those first three were kind of, the people considered them to have a certain level of sanctity because they were people who had accompanied the Holy Prophet. So maybe they would give us some knowledge. Now, taking off from Muawiyah later on, I mean, this guy, not a lot of knowledge, etc. So Muawiyah would bring some people kind of pretending to be scholars to give him legitimacy. Okay, he's got a scholar with him, khair inshallah. Later on, it was totally impossible, like the likes of Yazid and others. No, these people are corrupt, so they have to bring somebody to give them legitimacy. And is it going to be somebody from the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? No. Why? Because these people have wilayah for the Ahlul Bayt. And these people who have usurped the rule, they are considered to be opposers of the Ahlul Bayt. In Baghdad, Abu Yusuf al-Qadi was one such person from the other madhahib. Harun al-Rashid tells him, listen, I want you to ask a few questions to Musa ibn Ja'far in order for you to kind of, expose him that he doesn't have knowledge, so that I can use that. I can use it against him in order to try to disgrace him. At that, Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, he asks a question. ما تقول في التضليل للمحرم? What do you say, what is the ruling with respect to being under a shade or a shadow for who? For a person who is in the state of ihram. Is it permissible? The Imam Salamullah alayhi says, no, it's not permissible. Then Abu Yusuf al-Qadi asks, what do you say, is it permissible for him to make a tent, to pitch a tent on the ground and then enter it? He says, yes. So here Abu Yusuf al-Qadi says, what's the difference? Over here is enter the shade, and over there is another type of shade, like for example, let's say an umbrella or whatever, and you're saying that that's not permissible. What's the difference? The same thing. Now here, what is Abu Yusuf al-Qadi doing? Here you can see the spread of qiyas, okay, this type of analogy. if, for example, milk is white, and and milk is permissible for me to drink, then if there is another white liquid, like for example paint, it's liquid and it's also white, so then I should also be able to drink it. What kind of analogy is this? This is something and that is something else. Are they trying to apply it in religion? Again, the school of Abu Hanifa. So the Imam tells them, no, that's not correct. How does he answers? The Imam tells him, what do you say with respect to a woman who is in a certain part of her monthly cycle? A tamith, haid. Does she have to offer qada salawat for that period? Abu Yusuf says, no, she doesn't. طيب, does she have to offer qada for a fasting? He says, yes, of course. The Imam asks him, then why? Why salah? No, but fasting, yes. Abu Yusuf tells him, this is how it has come in Sharia. The Imam tells him, okay, khair. And this is how that has come in Sharia. So don't try to be smart. Now, when he tried to, he saw this argument from the Imam a.s. The riwayah says he felt defeated and the color of his face and Harun's face changed. So the Imam ﷺ left that gathering, leaving both of their faces gloomy. In yet another instance, and this was with Abu Hanifa. Now, Abu Hanifa, he had a lot of dealings with Imam al-Sadiq ﷺ, and know that he studied under Imam al-Sadiq for 2 years only. And this is a big problem. And sometimes maybe it's a bit important for us to maybe shed some light into this, even though this is something that the example is historic, but you also do find this today. That if a person were to enter the hawza for a short period of time, very short, minimal period, which in the hawzawi traditional setting is not sufficient even to complete learning the ahkam properly. Ahkam, you haven't learned them properly. Maybe to even understand how to apply the ahkam of tajweed, you haven't practiced enough. But then all of a sudden, mashallah, you find a TikTok channel, or you find, mashallah, on the manabir, mashallah, our centers, they, alhamdulillah, with all sincerity, they consider that, okay, khair, they have some oratory skills and they talk English or whatever the language is. And, mashallah, yeah. لولا السنتان لهلك النعمان. Imam al-Sadiq tells him. Because after those 2 years, he himself continued to jump around and then to express his own opinions about things. Imam al-Sadiq told him that if it were not for those 2 years where basically you just learned some small things from me, you would have perished. Now he did perish in terms of the fact that he was totally misguided in the approach that he took in opposing Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayh, to the extent that there were many ahkam where he would ask, what did Ja'far as-Sadiq salamullah say about this? So you'll be told, he says this. He said, I'm going to give the opposite fatwa. Imam says halal, he says no, haram. Inna lillah. So this challenge in itself is really, really sensitive for us to know that we have to refer to the scholars, people who are scholars. Now, Abu Hanifa entered the presence of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam al-Sadiq is still alive, meaning that Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam is very young. It's like the age of our children. The riwayah says, رأيت ابنك موسى يصلي والناس يمرون بين يديه. Abu Hanifa is telling Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, kind of complaining, or kind of trying to act smart. I saw your son, he was praying, but people were passing in front of him, and he wasn't stopping them from passing in front of him. So his namaz, his salah is batil. His salah is batil. Now this isn't in our fiqh. With our brothers Ahl Sunnah, this is a part of their fiqh. So out of respect, of course, when they are praying, we do not pass in front of them, we pass behind them. But for us, this isn't a part of our fiqh. So Abu Hanifa was telling them this, the Imam, to Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq ordered for Imam al-Kadhim salamullah alayhi to be called to that gathering. Imam al-Kadhim comes. Imam al-Sadiq asked his son, Ya Bunay, oh my son, Abu Hanifa said that you were praying and the people were passing in front of you. Says, yes, father, correct. And he to whom I was praying is and was closer to me than them. He, Allah, to whom I was praying, was closer to me than them. So how can it be that their passing would annul and make my salah batil? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ, and we are closer to him than the jugular vein. At that, Imam al-Sadiq became extremely happy. He embraced his son and he prayed for him. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Respected mu'mineen, there were many of such munadharat and debates of our Imam salamullahi alayhi, even with the Abbasids, whereby it is narrated that once after finishing Hajj, Harun al-Ghawi, he comes to Medina, and as he comes to Medina, he goes to Masjid al-Nabi, and in order to show his arrogance, and out of arrogance, he comes to the grave and he says, Assalamu alayka yabna amma. Peace be upon you, O cousin, to the Holy Prophet. At that, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was close by. He comes and he says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba. Peace be upon you, O father, to the Holy Prophet. As the Abbasids were trying to show to the supporters of the Umayyads that they are closer to the Holy Prophet than the Umayyads. So Imam alayhi salam was showing them that us, Ahlul Bayt, we are closer even than you, O Abbasids. And it is actually this type of dealing with the Abbasids, asking for fadak and so forth, and at the same time for people to make false lies and send these lies to Harun in letters, it led to the Imam alayhi salam to being summoned by Harun al-Ghawi. And it is mentioned that the Imam salamullahi alayhi, he was the Imam alayhi salam was put in prison, according to certain scholars, for over 10 years, but in different spells, not in one go. In one of the times the Imam alayhi salam was sent to Baghdad, he was called to Iraq in the different prisons, but just out of his piety, his akhlaq, his ibadah in the prison warden could not bear to keep him in prison. To that extent, you see the story of Nabi Yusuf salamullahi alayhi, the same thing, and with the Ahlul Bayt even more so. With that, they would write and they would kind of force the hand of Harun to release him. But in 179 AH, the Imam salamullahi alayhi, he was called. He was called and he was summoned. The Imam alayhi salam is praying in Masjid al-Nabi. He's dragged from his salah. The Imam salamullahi alayhi, he's dragged from his salah. He's put on a camel with guards. And first the Imam alayhi salam, he's taken to Basra. And in Basra, it seems that the Imam salamullahi alayhi, he was taken to the prison of the son of Abu Ja'far al-Mansur al-Dawaniqi. Imagine you are being taken to the prison of the son of your father's killer. Now this person, how much hatred would he have towards you? But the Imam Sallallahu Alaihi himself was dealing with him with utmost akhlaq, utmost piety, and spending his time in salah, in ibadah. At that, our Imam Sallallahu Alaihi, he had touched the heart of this person. So he writes to Harun, I can no longer keep this person my prisoner. He had been there for around 2 years. You either take him to another prison, or I'm going to set him free. Harun couldn't bear the Imam alayhi salam being set free. At that, Harun sends for him, and they bring him from Basra. Again, they bring him from Basra, shackled in chains and with a host of guards and soldiers. And there they take the Imam alayhi salam, they put him in a prison. As they put him in the prison over there, again, it was not just one prison. Even in Baghdad, they were moving him between different prisons, because the Imam was affecting whoever was being made his warden. Until in one of those prisons, our Imam Salamullahi alayhi, he's being put in a prison which is not a prison. It's a hole in the ground. Our Imam alayhi salam is being put in a deep hole in the ground that it is very difficult for the Imam to get up or to sleep. He can't extend. Mu'mineen, our Imam Salamullahi alayhi, in one of those prisons, he was put in a prison that was not very far from the palace of Harun. And the habit of the Imam was for him after Salat al-Fajr to remain in sujood up until approximately Dhuhr time. So with his clothing, he would have a white aba'a, white clothing. One of those days, Harun, as he looks out, he sees that there is this white kind of thing. So he asks one of his guards, Al-Fadl ibn Rabi'a, and he asks him that, what is this? What is this cloth? Why is it shaped like that? Fadl tells him that this is Musa ibn Ja'far in sujood. I swear by Allah that every day after Fajr he remains in sujood up until Dhuhr time. Even Harun says this is one of the rahibs, one of the monks of Bani Hashim. I asked this mal'oon that if you know that he was one of the monks of Bani Hashim, then why did you do what you did to him? Well, how could you keep him in such a place? How could you imprison such a person? How could you imprison one of the Imams? After this, the Imam, he was in this prison. Harun tells this warden, I want you to kill him. I want you to give poison to the Imam. But this warden couldn't bring himself to do it. He tells him, no, I'm not going to do it. Harun then, al-mal'oon, he is forced to send the Imam to the prison of Sindi bin Shahik, who was an atheist. He was not a Muslim. He did not believe in the Holy Prophet nor the sanctity of the children of Fatima az-Zahra. He did not believe in the sanctity of Imam al-Kadhim. As the Imam was in the prison of this person, it is narrated that Sindi bin Shahik put extremely potent poison in some of the days that he gave to the Imam. أعظم الله لكم الأجر. He gives this day to the Imam. The Imam eats one of these days. Sindi tells him, eat some more. The Imam tells him, no one is sufficient for what you wanted to happen. أعظم الله لكم الأجر. There are differing narrations that say when the Imam was given this poison, but one of those really difficult narrations say that the poison was so potent that the Imam, he only remained one day and thereafter he passed away. as the poison has taken over the body of the Imam, it is narrated that the color of the body of the Imam started to change. At first, the bodies of the Imam becomes red with the effect of the poison on his intestines, on his innards. After that, the body of the Imam becomes green. And finally, أَعْظَمَ اللَّهَ لَكُمُ الْأَجْرَ, the body of the Imam, the parts in which the poison had affected, they turned black. The Imam Salamullahi alayhi, in the prison of Sindi bin Shahik, when he felt that these were his final moments, through the miracle, Imam al-Rida was there. He had given him the wasiyah. Imam, he extends his feet towards the Qibla. أَعْظَمَ اللَّهَ لَكُمُ الْأَجْرَ. He breathed his last, our Imam. He passes away to his Lord. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But O mu'mineen, the Imam alayhi salam had one wasiyah. This wasiyah is so difficult for me to even mention. The Imam's wasiyah was that I want to be buried in the shackles that I had on my hands and my feet. Today, if you were to go and to see the grave of our Imam alayhi salam, the Imam is buried with these shackles. The Imam's stomach is faced with it has this color because of the poison. But this was not all that was done. After the Imam passes away, Sindi bin Shahik, he called some of the people to come to the prison first to look at the body of the Imam. At that he tells them, have a look at the body of the Imam. Has somebody harmed him? They covered the places where the color had changed. At that said, these people say, no, nothing has been done to him. O mu'mineen, then they bring the body of the Imam to the bridge of Ar-Risafa. They open the face of the Imam and they tell the people, out of taking this person lightly, trying to disgrace and dishonor the Imam, even after his shahada, they say, this is the Imam of Rafida, and come and have a look at him. It is narrated that some of the Shias, but even some of the Abbasids, they could not take this anymore, and they came to the body of the Imam Salamullahi alayhi, and they started to say, who wants to see the body of Al-Tayyib ibn Al-Tayyib, Musa ibn Ja'far, let them come and see. This is not just any person. وقبر ببغداد لنفس زكية تضمنها الرحمن في الغرفات, and a grave in Baghdad of a pure soul, that Allah encompassed in the rooms of the heavens. That Allah encompassed in the rooms of the heavens. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا آلَ مُحَمَّدٍ أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ.
From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to
Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. The luminous moon lightening the way, the luminous moon lightening the way, the rising sun that brightens the day. Heaven without you would be in flames. You're the heaven in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. The luminous moon lightening the way, the luminous moon lightening the way, the rising sun that brightens the day. Heaven without you would be in flames. You're the heaven in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. Your visitors offer you the hands, your visitors offer you the hands. Enemies will never understand. How can the water lose to the sand? How can the first win in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala? Why? Heaven is opening, Ya Hussein. Why? Angels descending, Ya Hussein. Why? Heaven is opening, Ya Hussein. Why? Angels descending, Ya Hussein. Why? They are reciting Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala. The hand of God that nurtures the young, the hand of God that nurtures the young. Speaking for Allah, you were the tongue, separating his right from the wrong. Elevated in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. The hand of God that nurtures the young, the hand of God that nurtures the young. Speaking for Allah, you were the tongue, separating his right from the wrong. Elevated in Karbala, in Karbala, in the ship that sails swiftly through the waves, the ship that sails swiftly through the waves, and whoever boards your ship is safe, immune from the punishments of the grave. Whoever mourns you in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. The ship that sails swiftly through the waves, the ship that sails swiftly through the waves, and whoever boards your ship is safe, immune from the punishments of the grave. Whoever mourns you in Karbala, in Karbala, Karbala. When will we meet again, Ya Hussein? When under your dome can I grieve again? When will we meet again, Ya Hussein? When under your dome can I grieve again? From Najaf I'll walk into Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا سيد الوصين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على 9 المأسومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.